critical race theory uses a wildly different definition of racism compared to what we might call the classical definition of racism.
Yeah.
So let's go back to like pre-1990.
Okay.
Imagine I ask you the question, what is racism? What kind of definition would you expect to give me?
I think I probably would have said the idea that someone is superior because of the color of their skin or some other physical characteristic connected to their race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, your attributes as a person are linked to your genetics and your skin color.
Yeah. That could even involve intelligence and other things like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's classically how we would view racism.
Right.
The Darwinian evolution theory of racism is that your dark skin signifies some delineation in the human evolution and you are inferior genetically to me as a white person. That would be classic racism.
Yeah.
Well, critical race theory says, no, that's not really what racism is. That's part of racism. Racism is racial prejudice
plus power.
Plus institutional power.
Mm-hmm.
Now, David Wellman, who's written on this, defines racism as a system of privilege based on race. And so those are two ways of sort of saying the same thing.
Okay. And
when you have a definition of racism like this, you can make some claims that might sound kind of wild if you don't share that definition. So for example, the idea that white people are racist simply by virtue of being white.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this comes from. Or if you flip that the other way around, the idea that black people cannot themselves be racist.
Right, because they don't have access to the institutional power.
Yeah, there was a fairly popular movie in I think 2014 called Dear White People.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the quotes from that film, racism describes a system of disadvantage based on race. Black people can't be racist since we don't stand to benefit from such a system.
I still remember the first time I encountered this idea. I was having a conversation with a black brother at a church that I was a member of, and I was in Atlanta. Atlanta's a fun place to live. And I was at a diner, and a black dude in the diner got mad at me, and he called me a cracker and then some other words I can't say. And I was having this conversation with this brother, and I brought that up, and I said, do you think that man was being racist towards me in that moment? That black man towards me, whatever ethnicity I am, right? And he said, no. I said, no. And he said, yeah, because you have power. He doesn't have any power, so it can't be racist. So that's the critical theory understanding of racism.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of these conversations among evangelicals fall apart, is not starting with definitions like this. And so to hear someone say, well, he's black, he can't be racist, we might hear as he's black, therefore he can't have racial prejudice. That's not what critical race theory is saying.
Right.
They're just defining racism in such a way that you have to have status as part of this oppressor group in order to have racism or racist tendencies.
Yeah.
So in other words, the crux of whether something is racist or not racist is where you fall in this social binary. So we're going back now to the capital T theory idea of social binary, that society is best understood as a relationship between oppressor and oppressee. And now critical race theory is just applying skin color to that and saying that if you are part of the oppressee group, the oppressed, you can't be racist.
Right.
Because racism has much more to do with power than it does with any sort of ideology about genetics or racial superiority